This has been disproportionately affecting young people because, as Hannah rightly said, young people are more likely to be in sort of precarious employment on 0 hours contracts in sort of the retail sector where these jobs are at the moment predominantly being slashed. How does sort of a UBI help these young people sort of move into the future?
So who would like to take that? Should we go to Sophie first and then Hannah to follow?
Well, I think that it gives, I suppose not just to young people, but to everyone, but particularly relevant, I think, to young people where, they may be leaving school or further education and in that kind of fairly precarious position of trying to get a first job, which is likely to be even tougher now with, with unemployment rates rising and so on. So I think it gives that level of, a safety net. Which perhaps doesn't exist certainly doesn't exist in the same way at the moment. I think the other interesting thing, certainly coming from the Finland example, was that people reported that they were it enabled them to try things that they wouldn't have tried otherwise, and some of that was volunteering and so on, but some of it was actually entrepreneurialism. And Finland have got Sweden don't have a UBI, but also have an interesting track record in terms of entrepreneurialism, where they give the equivalent of maternity leave actually to someone who wants to set up a business. So you're able to leave your existing job if you've got one, and they will give you 6 months to set up a business. And from that has come, businesses like, the dreaded, if any of you've got younger kids, the dreaded fortnight. I'm not sure I should be commending that particular one, but from that comes Fortnite, has come Spotify and so on. So I think there's something about, for young people in particular, that safety net of a consistent income, helping with the insecurity of work and the increases in the gig economy, which is not just likely to be now, but is a feature of, is a permanent feature, I think, of employment, for younger people entering the labour market or leaving school and so on now. But also, I think it gives them that opportunity around perhaps doing things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And that's got to be particularly relevant, I would say, to some of the lower income students, because we all know people who've been able to go on unpaid internships and so on because they come from the sorts of backgrounds where their family might support them to do that. But what about the young people who, and I think it was Sarah making the point that actually a UBI for young people going into either further education or taking advantage of those sorts of opportunities, not that I'm saying unpaid internships are a good thing, there's other ways to address that, but I think it just helps to level the playing field in terms of issues around social mobility for young people as well.
Thank you, Sophie. Hannah, do you have some comments on Leo's question?
Yeah, I do. So I think, as Sophie points out, the opportunity to retrain and look for a job that you genuinely want to be doing, rather than just having to take what you can get because you need to pay bills. And as students, I've seen so many people at the moment who've actually gone home because they've lost their jobs where they're at university. They've returned to live with their parents, and then they're still having to pay the rent on their university properties, even though the landlords can have a mortgage break if they want, but these students aren't receiving those rent breaks. And this puts huge financial strain on people that aren't in a very stable position anyway. And the mental health implications for that can be massive. And I really think a UBI would be able, again, to give people that safety net, to be able to afford the basics, to then build up from that and take the time, if you want to explore entrepreneurial opportunities and other forms of training, to make sure that people can get on the right track and sort out a good life for themselves. So yeah, I think it would make a real difference for a lot of people.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Leo, for your question. Sarah Rees has made a very good point as well. Those in education, it could benefit whatever age they are. It's not just young people. I thought that would be, those comments from both Hannah and Sophie could reach to anyone, as could the UBI. I am very conscious of time, and I'm going to wrap this up now. But I just think, going forward, this has to be the start of the conversation. and continuing a conversation and not just a one-off, because it's quite clear from the comments that we've had from our panel and those from the audience, and I no doubt there'll be a lot more when people have had a chance to digest some of the information they've heard today. So if I could ask those members who have joined today, perhaps if there is ever any other comments following this meeting, if they would like to get in touch, then my office is there to try and hear what you were saying, and I can use my platform, if you like, to try and get those messages across to people in the right places. And I'm sure our guest panel would love to do the same too, and I'm happy to share further thoughts and comments there. So again, just from me, a big thank you for everyone for joining today. This will be going online. Please, if you haven't already, my report is on Twitter, so please feel free to read and offer any comments and criticisms you may think are needed there. Share it, because this is a conversation which is much wider than us, and we have to ask that question, which I often ask. I'm in politics and I try and implement many things, but actually those things might not affect me as much. It's about affecting as many people, and the people who need it the most, who need our support the most. And I think a UBI could help so many people who are out there struggling at the moment, and be, in my view, a springboard and a stepping stone to allow them to go and do whatever they want them to do. That's what we hear in schools. But unfortunately, when we get past schools, sometimes society lets us down, and we all have a part to play in changing that. And I think Mark's right. Now is the time to be bold and brave enough to do that. So it's an ongoing conversation. Please feel free to get in touch. We'll try and set something up again with this, because it's definitely not a one-off. There's clear interest here in trying to make this move. So if I can thank everyone for joining today. Really good to see you all. Thanks so much for your comments and your interest in this. But massive thanks to Sophie Howe, Hannah McCarthy, Mark Cooper, and Dr. Sarah Gilmore for joining us today and making their time available for us to hear from them. And also from my personal thanks to my team who have helped set this up today and bring everyone together. So thank you all. I will call this meeting to a close. Again, I look forward to seeing you all very soon. So enjoy whatever the rest of the week brings to you, and hopefully we can enjoy some sun in the summer. And I hope that we can all see each other very soon when we've got through this very tough period that we're all facing. So, diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you all, and goodbye.